I'll be discussing the economic nationalism. So what is really the economic nationalism? So economic nationalism is also called as economic patriotism and economic populism. So it is an ideology that favors the state interventionism over other market mechanisms, with policies such as domestic control of the economy, labor, and capital formation, even if this requires the imposition of tariffs and other restrictions on the movement of goods, capital, and labor. So basically, economic nationalism tends to emphasize industrialization due to beliefs that industry has positive spillover effects on the rest of the economy and also enhances self-sufficiency and political autonomy of the country. So when we say spillover effects, mo ni siya effect sa economy sa ato ang country baron from unrelated events nga nahitabo sa laing country. So for example, sa natural calamities such as earthquakes or sa kana na lang political crisis sa laing country, it can also have positive and negative effects on the economy of our country, right? Next, after the World War II of Philippine economic nationalism, this what we call Tidings Rehabilitation Act was being established, and which required the Belt Trade Act, heavy importation, and pre-control era. So the Belt Trade Act, there is no restrictions sa currency transfers from the Philippines to the United States. And ang kuan niya, preferential tariffs on US products has been imported into the Philippines. So basically, matawag na siya ganang fixed exchange rate between sa Philippine peso and the US dollars. And for the heavy importation naman, kanani siya when you travel outside the country, na mo ato mo laing lugar, you are importing any souvenirs you brought on your trip. Kaya man dyan mawala sa ato and including na their kanang mga trade deficit. And for the pre-control era, this is the time wherein they control the quality of products based on specification limits rather than control limits. And during pre-control era, sometimes it is being called preliminary or preventive control. So it focuses on controlling. So now let's have the history of the economic nationalism. So it is just a very short summarization of the history of economic nationalism, okay? So economic nationalism history consists of practices to create and protect national economies in the context of the world market. So this is being rose in the late 19th century, wherein the impetus of crisis after the year 1929 and its institutionalization after the year 1945 has been gained. So that was a short summarization of history of economic nationalism. And for the philosophy of economic nationalism, guys, it is also referred to as mercantilism. So to clarify, mercantilism DI is an economic policy ni siya that is being designed to maximize the exports and minimize the imports for an economy. And a wider sense of economic nationalism referred to an international relations theory as a realism. Realism, which tends to be a zero-sum game. So, zero-sum game siya, kay nag-represent man siya og situation in which an advantage that is won by one of two sides is lost by the other. And also for the philosophy of economic nationalism, it is also an approach where countries tend to be in conflict and develop policies that help them gain at the expense of another country or another countries. So as a policy is deliberate system of principles to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes. So last but not the least, the criticism of economic nationalism. So it is just a quick of a criticism of economic nationalism. So it is when a consumer preference for local goods give local producers monopoly power and affording them the ability to lift prices to extract greater profits. And that would be all. Thank you.